What do you want to lock him up on?
Decision to gut Roe v. Wade.
What do we got? Like 7, 8, 10 different investigations, criminal investigations into him? Come on, you know what? The guy's going to be found guilty. And as far as I'm concerned, he's guilty of treason.
Hey everybody, I'm your host a lot, and today we're at the Stop Kavanaugh protest in New York City. Let's go ask some people some questions. Why are you out here today? What are you guys protesting? I see you have a sign here, no SCOTUS for Trump, Putin's bitch, child kidnapper, coward, pussy grabber, felon, racist, corrupt, oh, that's a nice picture. So, what are we out here protesting? Oh, 666, I just noticed that. I think he's a Christian and a devout one too.
Well, that's becoming a dirty word these days.
So, why are we protesting today?
Because obviously I can't stand Trump. I don't want him to have a Supreme Court pick.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Are there any specific policies that...
Well, he might get rid of Roe versus Wade and, you know, all kinds of other rights as well.
So I feel like there's a fair bit amount of misinformation going on because he said Roe v. Wade was settled law recently. And
you know what? So what if he said that? I'm trying to think of his name. One of the other Supreme Court, Roberts, I think it is, he said the same thing and ended up denying about 75% of clinics in Texas the right to exist.
So we can't take the Republicans' word, but we're just going to take the other side's word?
First of all, a lot of Kavanaugh's past decisions and records are not being made available. There's no transparency.
Well, they're doing that with all the Supreme Court nominees because it's becoming an over-politicized event. Like everything else in our country now, it's becoming over-politicized. There's no budget.
No, transparency comes first. The people have a right to know who's being appointed and what their views are, what their past decisions are. Besides that, Mitch McConnell and the GOP refused to allow Obama to have his appointment of Merrick Garland.
Well, they didn't have a majority in the Congress at that time, so that's kind of like the political process, the checks and balances. But when the president wants to appoint, I think anybody.
No, they wouldn't allow even a hearing.
Yeah.
That is stealing President Obama's right to pick someone. He was elected for 8 years, and his choice was stolen from him.
Okay, I mean, we could. That's part of the political process. But I actually also wanted to ask you one last thing. Do you think this is an appropriate way to talk about the sitting president?
Absolutely. He calls people names constantly.
So we're just going to start calling him names too? Because that's...
I am. I don't think Elizabeth Warren will, even though he constantly
calls... Oh, you're an Elizabeth Warren supporter?
Absolutely.
You hope she runs in 2020?
Sure.
Oh, me too. I think it'll be like Hillary 2.0, kind of the same thing all over again.
You know what? Hillary is a saint compared to Trump. And more crimes are coming out every day regarding Trump.
I mean, they both have a ton of controversies. You know, I mean, it's hard not to find one on Hillary, given that she's been in politics so long.
You're obviously doing a right-wing...
I think I'm asking fair. I'm not... If you don't think the questions are fair, that's fine.
I'm happy to answer. I'm here to speak.
Yeah. All right. Did you have anything else you want to tell us?
Just that the majority of Americans do not want Trump. The majority of Americans voted for Hillary. There was tons of voter suppression and gerrymandering, and the trend now is that the majority of Americans don't get what they want, not what they vote for, and that's another reason why I'm afraid of Kavanaugh.
So what are you guys out here protesting today?
Okay.
I see you have a sign.
Yeah, we're here to show our support of President Trump. These people aren't really against Judge Kavanaugh. They're against anything that President Trump does. Last time it was his taxes, it was a march on climate, it was a march on science. They hate Donald Trump and they actually hate America.
What about the people out here who are worried about reproductive rights? A lot of people are talking about Roe v. Wade being overturned.
They don't think for themselves. There's zero chance of Roe. There's zero chance of Roe versus Wade being overturned. Kavanaugh has said nothing. to indicate he has any intention of attempting to overturn it.
And what about the people who are saying, Trump's an illegitimate president because we have the Michael Cohen stuff, we have the Paul Manafort stuff, and he shouldn't be able to elect anybody?
Because they hate Donald Trump. They have a visceral hatred of Donald Trump. If he ordered the wrong thing at a restaurant, they would say that's reason to impeach him.
Do you have anything else you want to say?
I think that sums it up.
And I see you have a sign here. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is next.
I am very hopeful that Ruth Bader Ginsburg will leave one way or another, hopefully in good health, but the important thing, she leaves, and that Donald Trump can appoint another conservative judge.
Are you worried about the blue wave at all? Because the midterms are coming up, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg is still in. So.
No, I think you go 5 miles out of New York City, you get real people who understand we have a real president.
Great. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Can I ask you guys some questions?
Sure, go for it.
So what are you guys out here protesting? I see you have, what's on the back of here? The coat hangers?
And we also have physical coat hangers as well.
And what do the signs say?
Yeah, so this one says wire hangers, bad for clothes, bad for abortion. This one says legal safe abortion plus accessible birth control plus sex ed equals actually the countries with the lowest rates of abortion.
Okay, so I'm assuming you're against Kavanaugh's appointment and him getting tested.
I am, that is correct.
Please move a little bit. So why are you against Kavanaugh? Is there anything specific that you think he's going to do?
I mean, specifically, I am very worried about his prior voting record on reproductive rights. I don't think that he will protect the constitutional right that we have to Roe v. Wade, and that's my major concern with him.
What is his voting on things like Roe v. Wade? I don't think he's voted on stuff regarding Roe v. Wade at all. He actually recently called it settled law.
Can I ask what publication you're from?
I'm an independent journalist.
Oh, okay. And where is this going to be broadcasted?
Facebook and YouTube.
Okay.
Was my question just completely disregarded?
No. I just wanted to understand sort of where I was going to be featured.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that he actually has shown some record on abortion voting. So, for example, he voted against allowing a young immigrant girl to... How long is this going to take?
Like a minute or two.
Yeah? Okay,
yeah,
sure.
I promise.
And is this going to be edited?
Not at all. If I do put you in, you'll be from beginning, from me walking over, you talking about the signs, to whenever you tell me to go fuck myself, I guess.
Well, I wouldn't do that, but...
So there's one thing that he did actually talk about with abortion. It was an illegal immigrant who was 17 years old, and it was her right to go get an abortion without any, parental guidance. So he said that there should have been a parent first because she was under 18. So that's why that was the only abortion record. But that wasn't really an abortion thing. It was really an underage thing that case was decided on. And a lot of publications like to nitpick that and say that's why he's anti-Roe v. Wade. He called it settled law. Will he change it if it comes up? I don't know the way he's going to vote, but the evidence suggests, that he wouldn't.
I guess I was going to say, I'm not saying that he is anti-Roe v. Wade. I'm concerned.
Okay.
And I would like him to make a stronger statement on his support for Roe v. Wade.
Yeah. But you understand why he's not, because everything's over-politicized, and then everybody will slam him given one way or the other. And it's better, he's self-interested to keep quiet, just like all the other judges now, because they want to get nominated to the Supreme Court. That's kind of the issue with it.
I mean, I think that it would probably make a lot of us feel better about his potential nomination if he came out if he came out rather for Roe v. Wade.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, but my friend might have more to say.
Hi.
Alad, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Sorry, what did you say your name was?
Alad?
Alad.
Yeah.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So what are you out here for today?
Two things. I'm here to support a woman's right to choose. I'm also really concerned about Kavanaugh's views on executive privilege and executive immunity. I think that these are deeply troubling things at the time. I'd also like to add something to what my friend Stephanie just said, which is the fact that it's not just the decision on whether an unaccompanied minor could
the case too, right?
Well, it's not just that. It's also his statements praising Rehnquist's dissent on Roe versus Wade. There's a consistency to that pattern that I think deserves a great deal of clarification, because as the evidence stands, there's very good reason to think that he is not supportive of a woman's right to choose.
So here's the thing. He is a textualist, which means that he goes by the Constitution, and there is no explicit law in the Constitution that said that, because abortion rights weren't passed through Congress. Congress. So it was decided in the courts. So that's how it's become like the common law now. So according to the text, you know, there is no right to abortion in the Constitution, and that's because it hasn't passed through Congress. So that's what those comments were based off of. Also, regarding the executive order and can you elaborate a little bit more on that with executive privilege?
Well, in particular, I'm concerned about, well, there's two things. One is a potential conflict of interest. If he has to rule on a president who has nominated him and supported him, and if he refuses to recuse himself, there's quite possibly a very serious ethical issue there.
But you understand it's not just him, it's also the Congress. That's the checks and balance. Right, because that's what's happening now. And that's why Obama's pick didn't get through, because the Republicans owned Congress at that time.
It wouldn't be just him, it would be Gorsuch as well, right? Because Gorsuch has also been appointed by Trump. Yeah. The question is, do they, you know, A, the Supreme Court may have to rule on whether or not a president can be held criminally liable for something, and B, should someone be ruling on the potential future of the person who they owe a great deal of political favors to.
So here's the ironic part. We're going at textualists. We don't like textualists in some ways because a lot of textualists don't support Roe v. Wade because it's not in the Constitution. And then other times we're thinking, why wouldn't they be textualists when it came to other things that come to the court? If there was evidence against Trump, and I'm assuming you're suggesting Russian collusion, all the evidence would be there. These guys are objective guys and have been through all the courts. So you just think at the Supreme Court, if something came about with Russia, they'd just be like, oh, well, I mean, even though the evidence might support otherwise, we're just not going to make him a criminal and like not charge him with whatever felonies that might come. I think it's a stretch. So
I don't think that's the question at all, because the question would first be, is the court competent to rule on this? Is the second question...
Supreme Court.
Right. Well, then the second question would be, can the president be held criminally? Can the president be charged? Can a sitting president be charged?
Do you know why Kavanaugh said what he said regarding that? It's because when Bill Clinton was in office, he wrote scathing things about Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. He was very upset about it, and he wanted to drag Bill Clinton through the mud, which he kind of did. And he didn't think, after the fact, he didn't think it was good for the country, which it wasn't. It's a dividing thing. So now on things that aren't necessarily criminal, like this not the Monica Lewinsky stuff, the Stormy Daniels stuff, that's things I don't think that he takes seriously, and a lot of people in government don't take seriously in regard to removing the president. As far as Russia stuff goes, they'd be very okay with that. Also, at the end of Trump's term is when all the Stormy Daniels stuff would still take effect, because it would be a sitting president. So let's not make it sound like Trump would be getting out scot-free or something, because he wouldn't. So I just think there's a lot more context than what we're leaving on the table here.
Well, I mean, you seem quite determined to make a statement to the camera.
I'm taking what you're telling me and trying to expand on it because it's misleading. So we were talking about Roe v. Wade earlier. If you're a textualist, you don't think Roe v. Wade was made in good faith in the law, but he hasn't said anything to make it sound like he'd overturn it, and a lot of people here sure think he did. I think clarification is necessary.
There are political processes and there are legal processes, right?
That overlap, yeah, a lot.
Yes, that's correct. What we are engaged here is not strictly a legal process, it's a political process,
yes.
Because these legal decisions have profound political consequences. And so, because this is a place where the two intersect, and this is the one opportunity we have. Remember, once he is on the Supreme Court, there are very few opportunities for take-back. This is our one opportunity. Put him on the grill, put him on the rack, let's see what happens.
Well, here's the thing. Democratically elected Republicans in the Congress would be the ones confirming him. So, yeah, it sounds like the democratic process is working fine.
Look, politicians have to be concerned about re-election, right? There are very questionable people whose confirmation processes went through without a great deal of difficulty because the Democratic Party made political decisions not to take, the effort necessary, right? This is not just about pressuring Republicans. This is about pressuring everyone in Congress. There's a broad-based support for women's right to choose that cuts across party lines. If you've looked at the statistics, in fact, the Republican Party is deeply divided by gender. There has never been the kind of gender gap, please let me finish, that we've seen before. These issues are political, but they're not partisan.
So I'm going to take it back to why do you think he's going to what has Kavanaugh done to make you think he's going to overturn Roe v. Wade? Because you keep trying to twist it back to that, and then I'll ask you again, he said it's settled law, he hasn't made any discretion to make it seem like he would overturn it.
I find your choice of word, twist, highly objectionable.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
Let me make myself clear. He's had two major positions that suggest that he's not supportive of a woman's right to choose. These series of demonstrations are intended to...
Could you say what the two, you said there were two examples, what are the two?
Right. One is the decision on the unaccompanied minor. The other...
But people, even liberals would call that an unaccompanied minor issue above an abortion issue because he was still okay with the abortion if she had a guardian that would have said it was okay.
Thank you for asking me about two things and letting me speak about one.
I just think you're misconstruing the first one, but please.
Okay, just in general, as an interviewer, you should allow your subject to finish what they're saying before cutting into them. So, my second point is, it's his praise of Rehnquist's dissent on Roe versus Wade. These two together lead me to have serious questions. And again, this is part of the political process, to encourage Congress to get some very clear answers from him. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. So why are you out here protesting today?
Because I think that Brett Kavanaugh will vote against Roe v. Wade and women's right to a choice.
Why do you think that he's going to vote against Roe v. Wade? He actually recently called it settled law. So what information do you have?
I don't trust what he says.
So who do you trust? Who told you that he'd overturn it? And why do we think that he will just because they said so?
I trust my leaders.
And who are your leaders? Who's saying that he's going to overturn Roe v. Wade?
Party.
Okay, so we're just going to take their word for it, but not take the Republicans' word for it. Just because?
Take the Republicans' word for anything today?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the Republicans' word or the Democrats' word, but I'm taking the man's word.
Which man?
Brett Kavanaugh. He's been a legal scholar and a judge for a very long time, so I mean, I kind of respect these guys.
It's good for you. I guess you'll never need to have an abortion.
Well, I also don't think he's going to overturn Roe v. Wade, because I don't think there's no evidence to show that.
Well, I would like to see Garrick Marlin, the guy who the Republicans refused to vote on during the Obama. So I don't think we should just roll over and play dead and let Trump appoint whomever he'd like to appoint.
But they need to get, so when the president nominates a Supreme Court justice, they need to get confirmed by the Congress.
You know, I'm beginning to feel that this is going to be cut into little pieces and little snippets are going to be used against me.
I don't know how I'd take you out of context. If anything, I'd show the whole thing.
Trump is a criminal. He's a mobster. And he shouldn't be allowed to appoint a Supreme Court justice who will be on the court for a lifetime. And he's obviously against abortion rights.
Why do you think he's against abortion rights? Because I feel like that's a lot of misinformation.
He has stated that he has. Kavanaugh has stated that he has.
He called Roe v. Wade settled law very recently.
To people's faces. I don't believe it.
So what are we supposed to believe? Things he doesn't say to people's faces? I mean, if we can't take him at his word.
Why would we take anyone at his word? We're taking Trump at his word, who's a liar.
Should we take Democrats at their word?
We should take fact as fact and truth as truth.
So how is the fact that he's going to overturn Roe v. Wade? Where did that fact come from?
He gave a private speech where he said that. If you haven't seen that on the internet, go look it up. Everyone's seen that.
I mean, he also said Roe v. Wade was settled law.
The Supreme Court settles the law, and they could resettle the law, and that's what he will do.
I mean, you could do that all the time. Congress could resettle law. We have bad laws, and then we have laws that change. And
why didn't we confirm Merrick Garland, but we're supposed to confirm Kavanaugh?
Because the Democrats didn't have a majority in Congress.
No,
That's
because
how the process works.
They confirm him. I mean, they didn't bring him to the floor, and it was a good political move. I'm sure the Democrats would have done the same. Well, the Democrats used the nuclear option first, and then the Republicans responded that way.
There's truth and there's truth.
Okay. I also wanted to ask your thoughts on Brett Kavanaugh. Why you're part of the Stop Kavanaugh crew?
We're gonna do a little.
I'm just here because I think what's going on is absolutely wrong. How do we have a president that's eventually going to be found to act in criminal ways and we're allowing him and McConnell and Ryan to turn around and take control over our Supreme Court for the next 40 years on the backing of a criminal?
I mean, that's how it works. The elected officials, and when Supreme Court nominees step down, they elect more ones. And the Republicans are who in power, so that's kind of how the system is set up. So.
Sure, but why didn't they turn around and let, what's his name?
I'm gonna fill the spot.
Why didn't Merrick Garland get the opportunity?
Because the Democrats didn't have Congress, so they couldn't
You know what? I'm not positive of this, so I can't say this is an absolute fact. But the reason why, what's the other guy's name that got in?
Which one? The one that...
The first...
Before John Kennedy? Neil Gorsuch.
Right. Gorsuch got in, and now Kavanaugh's probably going to get in because Mitch McConnell turned around and abused the system by allowing only 51 people judge and put these people in when it used to be 60. The Democrats got this thing turned around because of Reid, I believe, pushing through the Affordable Care Act that the Republicans did.
They did the nuclear option to help pass some bills, and then the Republicans pulled the nuclear option to try to prevent. But it's playing politics, of course.
But just stop and think about this, all right? Harry Reid turned around and did something for the benefit of all the American people. What McConnell has turned around and done is committed an abortion on the American people by using his nuclear option to turn around and shove through people that never would have been
legal to run protesters over with cars. They're shredding the rule of law. If we let them have the Supreme Court, it is going to mean hell for humanity. Do you agree?
No!
Sisters, do you agree?
No!
Are we going to allow Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court? Hell no!
You can't do anything about it!
Are we going to allow Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court?
That's not how the law works!
Are we going to allow Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court?
Go read the Constitution!
You know why? Because women are not breeders. Abortion is not murder. Okay? Women are full human beings. And right now,
Nobody was saying they weren't.
you have a pussy grabber, somebody who has bragged about sexual assault, and you have a Christian fascist.
Christian fascist? Remember when Christian was a good thing?
Allies. Like this one right here, never again. Never again. Never again. Never again.
They have a coat hanger.
Never again. Never again. Never again. Never again. Never again. Never again.
What never again?
Never again. Never again. Never again.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you guys so much for watching me interview people at the Stop Kavanaugh protest here. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys thought. Thanks, everyone.
Nazi Germany. And you look at this and you look at what